Moses stood on the banks of the Nile River, his heart heavy with the weight of his people's suffering. Born a Hebrew, but raised as Egyptian royalty, Moses lived a life of privilege, yet he couldn't ignore the plight of his people. One fateful day, unable to bear the sight of an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, Moses' anger boiled over. He struck and killed the Egyptian, setting off a chain of events that would change his life forever. Fearing for his life, he fled to the desert, spending 40 years as a shepherd. And it was there, in the solitude of the desert, that Moses encountered God in a burning bush. God called him to lead the Hebrews out of slavery and into the promised land. Moses, hesitant and feeling inadequate, was reassured by God's promise to be with him every step of the way. With newfound courage and faith, Moses returned to Egypt. He confronted Pharaoh, demanding, "Let my people go." Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and God sent 10 devastating plagues upon Egypt. The final blow was the death of every firstborn son, but the Hebrews were spared by marking their doorpost with the blood of a lamb, an act that would be remembered as Passover. Finally, Pharaoh relented, and the Hebrews were free. Moses led them out of Egypt and into the wilderness, where they wandered for 40 years. Throughout this journey, Moses remained faithful to God, guiding his people through trials and tribulations. On Mount Sinai, he received the 10 Commandments, a covenant between God and his people. As Moses stood on the banks of the Jordan River, gazing at the promised land, he knew his journey was nearing its end. Yet, his legacy of faith, obedience, and leadership would live on, inspiring generations to come. Moses' story reminds us that even the most unlikely among us can be called to lead and make a profound impact. Trust in God's plan, and you too can lead your life with purpose and courage.